President Biden says that he will halt the shipment of U.S. weapons to Israel if the country moves ahead with a ground invasion of the southern Gaza city of Rafah.
The president acknowledging that Israel has used 2,000-pound bombs, the type that Biden has halted in that planned shipment, to kill Palestinians. Israel says it needs to enter the border city of Rafah to destroy Hamas and prevent another October 7th massacre. But more than 1 million Palestinians have fled to Rafah, and President Biden wants Israel to guarantee their safety first.
KTLA's John Fenolio has been tracking today's developments. He joins us live with details. John?
Sure, Micah, that's right. After 7 months of Israeli shelling, President Biden is now calling for a comprehensive plan to protect civilians in Rafah. Now, that's where it's estimated that more than half of Gaza's 2.3 million people are sheltering in tents and overcrowded buildings. The president also acknowledging tonight that U.S. bombs have been used by Israel to kill civilians.
Civilians have been killed in Gaza as a consequence of those bombs and other ways in which they go after population centers.
Tonight, President Biden warning Israel not to launch a full-scale invasion of Rafah, the southern Gaza city, sheltering more than 1 million displaced Palestinian civilians.
I made it clear that if they go into Rafah, they haven't gone into Rafah yet. If they go into Rafah, I'm not supplying the weapons that have been used historically to deal with Rafah, to deal with the cities.
Speaking to CNN, the president acknowledging that U.S. bombs have been used by Israel to kill civilians, while vowing to halt the supply of some offensive weapons, including artillery shells, if Israeli defense forces attack the city, which has seen a surge of refugees since Israel began waging war in Gaza 7 months ago, following Hamas's attack that killed some 1,200 Israelis, with more than 200 taken hostage.
Everybody's sort of forgotten about what happened in Israel. Those 1,200 young kids murdered, a mother and a daughter being roped together and then kerosene poured and burned to death. Nothing's like that happened in the Jewish community since the Holocaust.
On Tuesday, Israel seized the Gaza side of the Rafah border crossing with Egypt and warned roughly 1,000 civilians to evacuate. But aid groups say they have nowhere to go due to Israel's blockade. The president insisting the U.S. isn't walking away from Israel's security or its ability to wage war, including support for the Iron Dome missile defense system, but says Israel must do far more to protect civilians. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has repeatedly rejected U.S. warnings.
So it's not over your red line yet?
Not yet, but we've held up the weapons. We've held up the one shipment.
This video captured Wednesday. Witnesses telling the Associated Press Israel shelled an area in central Rafah, injuring several children. The Hamas-run Gaza Ministry of Health says more than 34,000 people, mostly civilians, have been killed in Gaza since Israel began launching retaliatory strikes. The president also responding to growing anti-war protests on campuses across the country.
There's a legitimate right to free speech and protest. There's a legitimate right to do that, and they have a right to do that. There's not a legitimate right to use hate speech. There's not a legitimate right to threaten Jewish students. There's not a legitimate right to block people access to class. That's against the law.
The U.S. and a handful of Arab countries continue to work towards brokering a ceasefire. Israel maintains that Rafah is Hamas's last stronghold and that the militant group must be eradicated. The U.S. and Israel believe Hamas is still holding around 100 hostages in Gaza. Micah, back to you.